Okay, we're going to start by answering an objection in this category of truth. So here is the objection we're going to answer, and it's simply this. There are no objective truths. There are no objective truths. So Jim, don't tell me that there's some truth about Christianity or really anything. I mean, everything is a matter of personal opinion. Everything is a matter of subjective opinion. Everyone's got a different view about all kinds of things, especially spiritual things. And really, there are no objectively true things. Everything is just a matter of perspective. So we would say that, and the culture will sometimes argue, that there are perspectival truths, but there really aren't overarching truths that can be applied to every person in every situation, no matter where you are in history. Now, this is an important objection, and in some ways, some of you are hearing this objection, maybe in a sense, and you're saying, well, God, that's a silly objection, right? I mean, is anyone really ever going to say that? Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, this view is being taught largely in many college campuses around America, and it's been absorbed culturally, I think. This idea, look, we all want personal autonomy. This is the tail that wags a lot of dogs in our culture right now, the high value for just leave me alone. Let me decide who I am, where I go, what I do. And this idea of personal autonomy, including personal moral autonomy, is really grounded in this idea that there are no objective truths about morality, objective truths about God, objective truths about how I should behave, what I should do, how I should think. Everything is a matter of personal, and if you want to tolerate me, if you want to be tolerant of me, if you want, that's defined by whether or not you will accept that my view is equally as valid as your view. As a matter of fact, the definition of tolerance has been grounded in this new idea that, hey, to be tolerant, you must view all views. You must consider all views equally meritorious, equally valid. So this notion that we should be able to respond to this, because it may not take that verbal shape, that there are no objective truths, but you'll see it be pitched in some other way. Well, that's not really, it's true for you, but it's not really true for me. There's nothing that's really overarching about truth. I mean, we can all have different truths. You're going to hear this objection a number of different ways. And we're going to have to be able to answer it, to move past it, because if there is no truth, then there is no truth about God. And if there is no truth about God, there's no truth about Christianity. Do you see how everything stands on this platform, this foundation of the first questions which are surrounding the issues of truth, objective truth claims? And what we mean by objective truth claims is simply that there are some things that are not simply a matter of personal opinion. Subjects don't get to decide. Now look, we have some subjective truths. As a subject, I can decide what my favorite dessert is. I can decide what my favorite vehicle is. I have some personal preferences. But to say that everything is a matter of subjective preference, those are called subjective truth claims, is the problem here, because there's no point in, we're not going to argue with people about whether or not they should accept chocolate chip ice cream as their favorite dessert. The subjective claims are not worth arguing about. But on the other hand, if you think you have a cure for cancer, and you have the single cure, it's this pill you take, and the cure is in this object called the cancer-curing pill, well, then this is going to be objectively true for no matter who it takes the pill, because the object determines whether or not that's true or not. You can take the thing and it may not be the cure at all. That'd be an objectively false claim. But the point is, your opinion can't change whether something cures a disease. This object, the pill, that's going to determine whether or not it cures the disease. There are some objectively, because objective claims are grounded in objects, that makes them true or false. Subjective claims are grounded in subjects that decide if they're true or false. We have to be able to help our young people see that there are some objective claims. So if someone was to say to you, there are no objective claims, there are no objective truths, what would you say in response? That's what we want to cover right now. So I'll give you two possible responses to this, so you have some options, and I'll put them on the screen so you can kind of track along with me. And these are brief. These are also, of course, on our phone app, so you can refer to these quickly if you needed to. So here is the first response that you would offer, or you could offer. And you just say this conversationally. If someone said to me there are no objective truths, I might say something like, well, are you sure? I mean, is that statement you just made, is that objectively true? I mean, if there are no objective truths, now think about this, then the statement, there are no objective truths, can't be objectively true, right? Because it's also a claim that is an objective claim about truth, that there are no objectively true things. Do you see the problem there? You know, as it turns out, all of us accept some objective truth claims, just as you do when you claim there is no objective truth. The only thing left then is to decide which claims are objectively true and which are simply a matter of personal opinion. Have you ever considered the claims that Christians make about God? Do you think these kinds of claims are objective or subjective? Now you'll see as I've kind of framed that out, right? As I've framed out for you this idea, this response to this claim, I've left it with some open questions that are not just yes or no questions. They're questions that I hope will prompt a conversation. And then you have to be ready to answer when someone says, because if you're going to ask that question, is any claim about God objectively or is it an objective claim or a subjective claim? You have to be ready to respond to that. And in this case, of course, we would say, look, if you wanted to know what makes a claim a subjective claim, simply ask yourself the question, can your opinion change it? Because if it's based on your personal subjective opinion, so if you said, hey, a chocolate cake is the best dessert ever, that's your opinion. You could change that claim by simply changing your opinion. And if you change your mind about your favorite dessert, well, then you'll just change your mind and say this is no longer what I consider to be subjectively true. You would say, I've changed my mind about my favorite dessert. Now, God's existence, is this an objective claim or a subjective claim? If I said that God exists, I could be wrong. I could be making a false claim. But my opinion can't make God exist if he doesn't, and my personal opinion can't keep God from existing if he does. This is grounded in the object called God. Either God exists or God doesn't, but you and I, our opinion has no sway over this issue. So I'm not going to, at this point, you don't have to even offer whether or not God does exist or doesn't exist, but just remember, the claim is an objective claim. And all that's left to decide when you discover that something is objective rather than subjective is to ask the question, is it true or false? But the issue about, I get it, if it was a subjective claim, you just say, who cares if it's true or false? Who cares if you like chocolate chip cookies or chocolate cake? But this is the kind of claim, a claim about reality, a claim about an object we call God. I know it's a personal being, but just for the sake of objective, subjective, that claim you cannot change with your opinion. That's something you need to be able to start the conversation. I could be wrong about my claim that God exists, but it's not an unimportant subjective claim. It's a very important objective claim. Okay, let me give you a slightly different response to this claim that there are no objective truths. Hopefully one that'll start a conversation, that'll get people thinking, that has a few questions embedded in them. Again, these are all available both at our website, coldcasechristianity.com, and on the phone app, the Cold Case Christianity phone app, okay? All right, so let's offer the second possible way to respond to this, because this would be another slightly nuanced way. You could say it this way, and it's on your screen. And again, we're going to capitalize on what we just talked about in the last segment. You know, there are two kinds of truth claims, objective and subjective. Now, objective claims are grounded in objects, and subjective claims are grounded in subjects, basically individuals. So when I say a chocolate chip cookie is the best cookie, that's simply my personal subjective opinion. But when I say that isoniazid is the cure for tuberculosis, that truth is more than simply my opinion. It's grounded in the object, the cure, known as isoniazid. Now that drug either cures TB or it doesn't. In my opinion, doesn't make it true or false. You know, to say that there are no objective truth claims is to deny this claim about isoniazid. If there are no objective truth claims, then there's no objective truth claims even about the drugs that cure diseases. Have you considered how dangerous that approach would be? Now take a look at how we approached it this second time. And in some ways, this is more instructional, right? I mean, because we can make these kinds of responses, and sometimes it's a matter of, and I hate to say this, but we see this on video, we see this on YouTube, we see this in debates, where it's really not an effort to say something substantive that would define the problem and actually offer a way out. It's really just an effort to say something rhetorically powerful. Like, I got slapped, and this doesn't make much sense, but it sure sounded aggressive and pithy and engaging. And so you find yourself, how do I respond to that? And you're kind of stuck there flat-footed, and I'm looking for a pithy kind of zinger to come back. No, this is an approach where we're going to say, hey, well, what if we actually teach a little bit about the difference between objective and subjective? And then remember, if you're going to toss the notion that there are objective claims about reality, if you're going to say there are no objective claims, and remember, you're also going to have to say there are no objective claims about things that you want there to be objective claims about. And we all want cures to be objectively true. Because if I go to a doctor and he says, well, I know people say that isoniazid will cure your tuberculosis, but in my opinion, sugar cookies are so much tastier than isoniazid. Oh my gosh, isoniazid tastes terrible. We have to shoot it in your arm because it tastes so bad. You wouldn't want to take it in pill form. But hey, sugar cookies, those taste really good. And in my opinion, you should eat sugar cookies. Look, we want cures to fall into we recognize that they fall in the objective truth category. So what we want to do is to help people see the difference. We instruct them a little bit about the difference between objective and subjective, and then we kind of ask them how dangerous it would be to slip everything into subjective opinion. Look, let's face it. For the most part, people accept objective claims about truth, but where they get squirrely, a little bit wiggly, is when those objective claims try to limit their autonomy. If we're very honest about it, we hold a view of the world, Christianity, that makes claims about sin, about the nature of God, about our behavior. And these things for a lot of people are going to be difficult. They would much rather sin be a matter of personal opinion, moral behavior be a matter of personal opinion. Then they could never be wrong because they get to say, in my opinion, this is not wrong. But if there is an overarching truth, even about your behaviors, that's going to make people uncomfortable. And that's what we have to be sensitive to. This may not be a matter of, well, do I even know the difference between objective and subjective? Do I have a good philosophical underpinning for this? It may simply be, what do I want to be true? As my friend Frank Turk often says, we're not always on a truth quest, we're sometimes on a happy quest. So we have to be able to understand that difference. All right, what we've done today, I hope, is to give you a couple of relatively quick responses to a very common objection that we hear in many different forms that's related to truth. Remember, you can get more of these responses on our app, our phone app, which is downloadable from both iTunes and on the Android platform. And you can see the links to those on our Cold Case Christianity website. All right, so I hope that's helpful for you, and I'll see you right back here next week on the Cold Case Christianity television show.